welcome to ALifeReal. This is Stories from the Journey with Paul Boone in the UK and Darren Humphreys in New Zealand. Today we're moving on to about number 3 in our episodes. We had some really great feedback from people who watched Paul and his wife Victoria share. First of all, before Paul introduces our wonderful guest all the way from the United States of America, we'd like to encourage you to subscribe to ALifeReal and to make your comments and right down here below. And if you'd like to share some of your story as well, please feel free to do so. So without further ado, from me, Darren Humphreys in New Zealand, welcome, Paul. Good to have you with us. How'd you like to introduce our guest today?
Yeah, thanks very much, Darren, for that. You know, when we started to have discussions around ALifeReal and what we wanted to do and where we wanted to take it, we spoke about the kinds of people that we wanted to interview and who we felt could have a great story and a great journey to tell. And we both agreed, you know, that Susan Salisbury was one of those, one of those individuals that we wanted to have onto the show. You know, not only does Susan have a great life journey and a great story with AS and her journey with AS to tell, but also, Susan's, very popular among the AS community, and she supports the AS community in, various different ways. So, we agreed that we would approach Susan for an interview. This is going back in February. Earlier on in the year, Susan kindly accepted. So today, without really further ado, we have Susan Salisbury on today's call. So thank you very much, Susan, for joining us.
Hello.
Just to give a high-level overview, really, of Susan. Susan's a parent of 3 children: Madison, Chloe, and Ian. Ian is the AS individual with the deletion variant of AS. Originally from Tulsa, Susan moved over to Oklahoma, has run a restaurant, is currently director at Nurium International, has contributed, immensely to the AS community in the forms of Hipper Bib. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Hipper Bib, the Angel Quilt Project, and is also a strong advocate and supporter of, Angelman's families and the Angelman's community overall, across all the different varying types of media that we have. So, the foundation webpage, Facebook, you name it, Sue is involved in this community. So, just again, thank you, Susan, for joining us. It really is a great honour to have you here on this ALifeReal interview. So, Susan, if I can take you back to, the beginning, prior to diagnosis, if you could, just walk Darren and myself through, that pre-diagnosis phase. What was it like? What were the struggles and the challenges and the indications, really, that things weren't quite right?
Okay, well, at the beginning, of course, as many of you guys probably have experienced, a lot of people out there experienced the same thing. He was actually, of course, we noticed different things happening when he was a baby. He wasn't hitting the milestones. He wasn't sitting up. He wasn't latching onto a bottle. He cried all the time like he was starving. I remember so many bottles that I had to go purchase and try to get him to suck out of a bottle. And it was just horrible. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then the fact that he wouldn't crawl, he wouldn't lift his head up hardly. We stayed up all night. He would cry and cry, couldn't figure out why. It seemed like he was constantly hungry. And I mean, finally, after going to the doctor and all of this, he finally thought, okay, he's 9 months old, he should be doing more. So he referred me to a developmental specialist. So in Tulsa, I'm like an hour and a half away from there, but she couldn't figure it out, so we ran many blood tests and things and found out that he had Chiari malformation. It's kind of hard to explain. It has to do with the brain stem. A lot of people have it. They have like headaches, and her biggest thing was he couldn't play sports, and we thought, oh my goodness, that was kind of hard. Well, that wasn't it. I mean, that wasn't all there was. So I was referred to a neurologist, and very first visit, I mean, he was 10 months then, he just kept looking at Ian, and he said, is he always this happy? And does he always move this much and flap his arms? And we were like, yeah, yeah. So he goes, hang on. And so he goes back, and I'm sure many of you can relate. You're thinking, oh my goodness, can't be nothing, you know, but he comes back and floors us, right? So he says, this is what I think he has. Right off the bat, Angelman syndrome. And I was like, I didn't know about it. Whole way home, just cried. I mean, especially when I'm sitting here Googling and, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, everything listed was exactly Ian. So, oh my goodness, talk about tears and just, it's just awful. And, you know, I found somebody here in this small town that she actually just moved here, and her daughter has Angelman's. And, I mean, this is a very small town. There's only like a couple that have it. And so, I mean, I just remember bawling. It was just a horrible, hard time. And so when they finally gave us the call to come back and say for sure after the testing, well, for sure that's what he had, we weren't surprised. So from then on, we just pushed on and tried to find resources of what to do next, you know, therapies, genetic testing. But, you know, I just, at the time, I didn't know how I was going to make it. You know, it was just devastating. I'm sure you guys all know what I'm talking about. But,
Sure, that's
yeah. Oh,
sure that's quite a journey, Susan. You know, I think some of those things that you've recounted are familiar, particularly the just those emotions as a parent, realizing that something's not quite right with your son or your daughter. Tell us something about how your other daughters reacted, because and the rest of your family reacted to what was going on around you. How was it? How was it both in the home and with some of your family around and about you when they noticed that something wasn't quite right with Ian? Did you find that people distanced themselves? Did you lose friends? Did you gain friends? Tell us a little bit about that, Susan.
well, no, I had a lot of support. I mean, they knew what we were going through. They were kind of going through it with us. Of course, you have a family member or two, which I won't get into, that kind of you feel are kind of distance themselves a little bit, or they don't want to accept it in a way. They don't really tell you that, and so that can be kind of heartening. And it's just, you know, Ian's dad, who is my ex-husband now, but very active, very big part of Ian's life and my daughter's. It was hard for him as well. I mean, our whole family, we tried to adjust the best we could. And I mean, friends were very supportive. Of course, Ian is just carrying on like happy-go-lucky as usual, you know. I mean, he's just so laid back and happy, and he's just such a blessing. But I felt like I got quite a bit of support. I could tell one quick little thing of, you know, I remember just, of course, we all have those hurdles of different things, whether it be, you know, therapy or whatever. Mine was insurance, trying to get, you know, equipment for Ian. That can be a hard thing. But I mean, there's resources out there. And in Oklahoma, it's not based on your income, and you can, you know, get other assistance where your regular insurance doesn't pay for stuff. So, I mean, those are things I had to go and search and find myself. But I did it. And now he gets the equipment, the wheelchairs, all that stuff that he needs. So as an angel parent, there's a lot of that. There's a lot of trying to figure things out on your own. So.
Wow, that's certainly interesting stuff. And you know, I think, you know, just as I hear that story, I'm like, well, that's really interesting. And you know, makes me wonder about the dynamics of a family unit. You know, as you've been going through, you know, your pre-diagnosis phase in terms of trying to, you know, understand the mobility, the lack of sleep, the feeding issues, seeking answers for yourself. You know, how, you know, once you receive the diagnosis, how did that change the dynamic within the family? Did that, give everybody a sigh of relief and just make everybody go, oh, now we know what it is and now we can get on with it? Or, did it compile pressure onto the family and have, create some kind of, frictions? Or, how did the family react to the diagnosis once they finally received it?
I would say, well, at 10 months old, he's just a little guy, he's just a little baby. I guess it did, after the initial crying and just felt like something died. It was just not him. I'm just saying the whole dream of, what we had envisioned for his life. So we just had to adjust, and it's amazing that you think, I can't handle this, but it's just, you can handle it. God gave it to you, and he's not going to give you more than you can handle. But the girls, they just took to him just like anything. They just baby him. We just all got in there and fed him and did everything we needed to do. The late nights finally subsided, this staying up all night long, and then I have a home daycare that I had to take care of other people's children all day long. So anyway, it's just been, it's a lot of hard work, but he's just such a blessing. So,
as well as facing all of those challenges, all through that phase, it's worth mentioning also that you're a full-time working mum. You've done daycare, you've worked in a restaurant, you're a director of at Nerium, you're also doing Hipper Bibs, but you're also a full-time mum to Madison and Chloe as well as Ian. How does Susan cope and manage, and what are the challenges that you actually face on a day-to-day basis, Susan?
Well, I just think my life was just kind of set up, what do you say, to accommodate for Ian. Because, after the restaurant, I was pregnant with my second child. And so I did a home daycare in my home because I was pregnant. And so then, however many, let's see here, 4 years later, then Ian comes. And it's pretty, it's a good thing that I had my own daycare in my home, because I didn't have to try to find a daycare to accommodate him like a lot of angel parents do. And it may be hard, to find daycare. So I'm so grateful that I have the life I have, that I can work out of the home. And of course I make the Hipper Bibs now, and we can get into that. But it just made my life a lot easier, where even after a while, there was times I had to drive an hour and a half each way, twice a week for therapy for Ian, for extra therapy. But it got to where we had somebody here in town, in our small town, and now they come to the house. So and actually when he was a baby up to age 3, we had what's called Sooner Care come to the house, and they did therapy and all that kind of stuff with him. I have all kinds of pictures of different therapies he went through, riding horses, this little gait trainer thing that we used, all kinds of stuff. But so it really made it a lot easier not having to work out of the home. So I was very fortunate.
That's quite a journey. That's quite a journey, especially those sacrifices we make as parents for our kids, isn't it, Susan? Those long drives, because we really want to see those things, see our kids actually achieve things. One of the things that you mentioned there that I just want to ask you about, Susan, and it's a challenge that a lot of parents whose children with Angelman syndrome have, and where that with Elijah was the whole area of sleep. And you were just saying that things have changed there, or some things have overcome there. Can you tell us, maybe, was it a pattern, was it behaviour, was it medication? What are the things that have been helpful for you in being able to have Ian successfully sleep through, or sleep by himself, those sorts of things, Susan?
Well, I've always felt pretty fortunate as far as with Ian. I can tell you this. Let me just tell you a little bit about Ian. Of course, he's 10 years old now. Ian has always been a little bit different, maybe, than the majority that I've Angelman children that I've read about, or gotten to know. He's more of a laid back little guy. He's just he's not as aggressive as some, pulling hair and biting and things like that. He's just really never been that way. Now, he can be ornery, of course, in their own little way, but, and then as far as Ian with his sleep patterns, when I was talking about when he was a baby, he stayed up for probably the whole first year. I mean, all night long. It was awful. But after that, we started using melatonin, and that pretty much has worked for us. Granted, he's not mobile. He's in a wheelchair, and he doesn't crawl. He has no way of really getting around unless he kind of pivots a little bit around to move a little bit across the floor, but not much. He can't intentionally get to some place. So, that's one part that I wish was different. He doesn't seem as, like a lot of the kids can get on the iPads and purposefully do things. Ian doesn't. He doesn't really watch TV too much. He does play with toys, certain, spinning toys, his favorites, and he can spin them forever. But these are just some of the differences between Ian and the majority, I'd say, of Angelman children, but he does sleep pretty good. And when now if he was mobile, I think he does wake up some at 3 and 4 in the morning, but he just kind of hangs out in his bed. He doesn't holler at us or wake us up, so he's pretty cool little dude about that. But if he was mobile, he may be up and running, and I may be up all night, So, and he doesn't have the seizures like a lot of the Angelman children do. Now, he does have little drop seizures where he shakes a bit and then drops his head for a few seconds and comes up, but he's on medication, Topamax or whatever, so that it does control it. So he can have them, but he doesn't have the big ones. So I'm very fortunate as far as that goes. He's different in that way. So.
Hi, this is those of you tuned in and watching. This is Darren Humphries in New Zealand and Paul Boone in the UK with the fabulous Susan from the United States of America. She's been telling us about her journey with Angelman syndrome and her son Ian and her family around some of those dynamics. It's really great to have you with us again today, Susan. Again, if you've got any questions or any comments, please do so by putting them down here below. Or if you want to see more or want to participate in ALifeReal Stories from the Journey, don't hesitate to subscribe and to contact us. Back to you, Paul.
Yeah, Darren, I think we're willing to take suggestions as well as to who, from the viewers out there as part of the AS community, who they would like to see interviewed as part of this format, sharing their stories and sharing their journey in terms of AS. It may be a specific thing. It could be regards the whole journey. We're absolutely willing to take suggestions. So far, Susan's been with us and she's talked about, the pre-diagnosis and the diagnosis of Ian's Angelman syndrome, coping as a full-time parent and carer. But as part of that journey, I was just hoping really that Susan might be able to give us some indications and just talk us through really her initial contact with the AS community and, about maybe how the AS community adds and provides value to Susan.
I believe it was with the foundation and just I can't remember. It's been a while. I contacted, this was before Facebook. I got in contact with somebody semi-locally, and then it just kind of grew from there. And of course, once we hit Facebook, that just made everything, awesome. There's so many groups out there, and you can pretty much ask anything and get the answer. It's just awesome. So there's several different groups out there that I participate in. A couple I've actually started myself. So anyway, it's just it just makes you feel like you're not alone. You're here to help other people. You're here to just catch maybe Even if you don't comment, the info's always out there, to follow up on, and it may be something that's useful and maybe not, but I've found a lot of stuff very helpful online, so I'm very thankful for my Angelman family.
So just going back there, the foundation also was one of my first touch points with the Angelman's community, and in fact it's where I met my good friend Darren Humphries, who's here with me on ALifeReal, and we're sharing this journey, trying to share everybody else's journey. And one of the things that we actually find, one of the values that we find from the Angelman's community is the fact is that if you have a problem or a question or a query, you can put it in one of those forums or groups on Facebook, and you get almost an instant response from the other members of the community who've already maybe been on that journey or have already walked that path. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. And just in terms of my own Facebook, I have 900 friends, 700 of which are all AS parents and families across the globe. I don't really even know what happened to my real friends. This AS community is my family now, so I find that quite funny, really. Just in terms of your advice for people who maybe haven't been in touch with the Angelman's community yet or have been apprehensive to do so, what would your advice be to them? And what would you say? What direction would you point them in? What would be your advice, Susan?
Well, I would definitely give them all the resources that I could, and then offer my story. And just kind of talk to them. You can private message, you can talk, in a page, a group, on the phone. There's always somebody out there willing to help. And I ran across, it was so funny, I was, had my kids, we were at like an amusement type of park, amusement park, and I saw this little boy, and I thought, oh my gosh, he has Angelman syndrome. You can just tell, and just adorable. Well, it happened to be Kara Caldwell. I don't know if you guys know who I'm talking about, but she lives in Oklahoma as well, and she wasn't connected with anybody online. She didn't have any idea that there was anything like that. And so I got her connected. She went to the gala. She's been in all the groups, and we're good friends. And it's just, even when you're out and about, you can give out that information. So there's always, and it just helps you just not feel alone. And that there's always an answer within arm's reach. Just your computer. Honestly, it's just awesome. And I've made, not just because of Angelman's, we're actually good friends. My Angelman family, we talk about everything all the time, so it's just great. So anyway,
it's great when we have those experiences, particularly of meeting other families or recognizing them. I recognized, actually, it wasn't the young lady's, it wasn't her gait or anything like that. I heard her across the other side of a store that's not unlike Walmart, and I heard this noise, and I knew immediately, without a doubt, I was tracking across the different aisles to try and track down that young person. Tell us, how's Ian with the ladies?
Oh, well, he is adorable. He just what do you mean? You've seen him on People magazine, Darren. Sexiest man alive.
Tell us a little bit. Tell us about him being on the front of that one, and tell us a couple of funny stories about his encounters with people when you're being out and about.
Well, he is just adorable. He just, even with his therapist, she cracks up because she knows he's something. She knows he's trying to get out of therapy, and he just looks at her and just grabs her necklace or looks at her hair, and you can just tell it's just not something he does all the time, but with particular girls. So anyway, but people are always out and about, when you speak of out and about, he's in a wheelchair, and people are just so. I've had positive experiences. You feel like you're being looked at. Of course you are, but I look at it as people are really looking at either Ian's cool wheelchair or how cute he is, or, just, I don't know. He just smiles. It's contagious. So they're always coming up, hey, how are you doing? And sometimes that's kind of hard because, Ian doesn't really, he doesn't acknowledge or show that he understands what they're saying at all. So I'm like, well, he's nonverbal, and they're like, oh, yeah, how are you doing? They continue to talk to him. So anyway, but you just get used to that. I mean, you're like, well, it doesn't even bother me now going through the mall, except, before when we'd go through the mall, certain stores, his wheelchair would, the alarm would go off every time we left and went in. But, oh, well, the little alarms.
We've been engaged with the community now for quite some time, and I'm interested really to see and hear really how you think the community is developing. Where do you see the community in a year from now, 2 years from now, or 5 years from now? What are the changes that you're seeing as part of the community?
I know that there's a lot of research being done and a lot of hope. I mean, a lot of, I even had Ian on Mino Cycling as well, the new drug that's out, and he did pretty well. He seemed to, went from about 50 steps to about 500 steps, and his demeanor seemed to be a little bit different, and so we've had pretty positive experience with that. So I mean, it's just those little things that the AS community or that the foundations and that they're doing they're really out there working for our angels and trying to find, maybe not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a cure, but I would say something to help with the different areas that need help with, whether it be mobility, cognitive, and I think that's a promising aspect, and I love it. So.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Susan. That's there's lots of always really interesting stuff going on out there, and things are forever expanding. And I like that whole thing that we all have hope that some things are going to benefit our kids, and I think you put it nicely in terms of how you saw those things that positively benefit stuff. And hey, I wanted to give a plug for a couple of Facebook groups that are out there. I want to give a plug for the Facebook group called Angel Man Connections. That's for those of you around the world who think that I speak far too quickly coming from New Zealand, or my accent is a little bit hard to tell. That's Angel Man Connections. I want to plug one other thing, Paul, and that is the Dads and Dudes with Angels. This is a blokes only group, and I don't know, Susan, if you might have been on that list to knocked on the door and tried to get an invite, but this is a bloke space, and we've got a virtual fridge and virtual spirit cabinet, and some really good time for some blokes who's, well, we call them blokes down here, or guys, or, lads, if you're from the UK, who want to get connected and share their stories and brag about their kids. And by the way, it's not a partner bashing environment either. Don't think we're hiding away to speak evil of our spouses or our partners or our significant others. It's actually really important because dads have a really quite a different dynamic around some stuff. So that's not plugging around then. So once again, you're watching ALifeReal. You're listening to Darren Humphries from New Zealand, Paul Boone from the UK, and the lovely Susan from the United States of America. And I think Paul's going to ask you a little bit about Hipper Bibs. Over to you, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely, Darren. Hipper Bib. So, Susan, I was wanting to ask you really in terms of Hipper Bib about where the idea came from, and what your inspiration behind it was, and also really how you took them first tentative steps really in terms of establishing it, because I'm on your professional LinkedIn network as well, and from your LinkedIn network, I noticed that an anniversary went out for 9 years, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So really, just if you could just break down to us about where it all came from, how you managed to kick it off, and what the future holds for Hipper Bib.
Okay, thank you very much. I was going to kind of back up just a smidge and just say, I know you guys talked about the dads and dudes, but I have to tell you I have a group called AS Women with Sass, and it's all women. So anyway, I had to put that plug in. Okay, well, back to the Hipper Bib. When Ian was, well, I think he wasn't even 2 years old yet. Well, obviously, I mean, my son drooled. And, of course, I didn't want him wearing baby bibs all the time. So I came up with this. Let me show you a picture. Can you see it? Can you see it? Him? Okay.
We can see it, but after the show, send us some product line, and we'll actually put that in there as well. We'll get Darren just to edit that in as well at the end of the show, so we can see some product in as well.
Well, I just, I wanted something that obviously didn't look like a baby bib, and so I came up with a triangular shape, and I made them reverse and have snaps so they weren't Velcro coming off real easy, and they had the liner in between. So it all worked together to where it wouldn't go through to their shirt, to their clothing. And then you had two cool sides to choose from. He could either, I make superhero ones. I make all kinds of sports, girly ones. I mean, I've had a good time with it. But I just decided to come up with something, and that's what I did. And I started a website, and it really took off. I haven't done any advertising except just plugging in keywords like special needs bibs, and people are finding me all over the world. Australia, New Zealand, Africa, the UK, Canada, just everywhere. And it just melts my heart. It makes me real happy. I love the fact that I can make extra money doing it from home, and it was something I created for my son, and I even make them for adults. Not just kids, but adults. So they, all different sizes. And, it's just, and the Angelman community's really been very supportive. And they're like, what? They're really excited about it. And so I've gotten a lot of customers from the Angelman community as well. But not just the Angelman community, all different, syndromes and things out there that cause children to drool. So, where do I see it? Gosh, I wish I could get on that Shark Tank show and, win and have somebody else sew them for me and make tons of money. But hey, I'm grateful for the fact that it's really taken off. It's something that they need. So it's fulfilling and all of that. But anyway, but that's what I came up with for my sons.
So when you came up with this concept, what were your initial movements? Were you scared, apprehensive? How did you get your product to market? What were your next steps?
Actually, just I thought, okay. I remember creating it and making them for Ian, and then just all I did was make a website. I really didn't take it anywhere. She's so crazy. I really didn't take it anywhere. I just did it all online, and it took me countless hours because I did my website myself. So, it just grew. I just did that bib, and then I did a scarf type bib, and then I did little teethers. I have a little blankie, like if they don't wear Hipper bibs, I have a little square type of blankie where they can hold it, and it's got little chewies all over because our angels love to chew, and we can attach chewies to the bib. So I've tried to come up with all different things. I keep trying to create new things to add and that I think people will need. So, but it's now I have a lot of schools ordering. I even got just last week I got an email about 50 bibs. They wanted like 50 bibs and all of that. So, that's no big deal. I make about 50 to 60 a week or more. So, but like I said, also, this business has helped me not do daycare all day long. And I say that because in 2008, I was able to stop the all day with the little kids all day long. and I went to after school kids. So I just have daycare kids for like an hour and a half after school. So all day long when my kids are in school, I get to sew and get things done that I need done, take Ian to his appointments. So everything has just flowed and worked out. I'm just so grateful. Of course, in the summer, when the kids are out of school, I have them all day. I have after school, older kids, but hey, they can take care of themselves. No, but like I said, it's all just worked out perfectly. So anyway, so that's what I do.
That's a really exciting story, Susan, and I'm happy to be a model as well, because Susan was happy to send a bib to me just while I'm demonstrating the various ways that these can be used here and there. Tell us, Susan, what's the website address for those people who are going to be wanting to order after today's program?
www.hipperbib.com.
So that's HIPPERBIB.com. That's Hipper Bib. Get in quick. Get in quick. You can even have a fancy, popey, clowny type hat, not unlike myself. Get in and really support Susan in this business, and that's really great. She's got a whole swag of different patterns just up close so that you can see some of the patterns on one side here, and United States of America, and on this side as well. And she's got a whole swag of things. So either, of course, wait till you've finished listening to Susan's story, but whip across to www.hipperbib.com and place your order today. And if you talk nicely to Susan, she may be able to customize something especially for you. Maybe if your kids want that chewy thing on the end, those things are really funky as well, because it's really important that our kids who have sensory needs are able to help satisfy some of those instead of sticking stuff like batteries or chewing the furniture. So if you wanted an alternative to chewing the furniture today, you've heard it, www.hipperbib.com. Now, Paul, this is just my final plug, because you guys know, at least I've got another engagement this afternoon, so I might drop out at any point in time. So, I've sort of finished my telemarketing on-show promo for today. So, Paul and Susan, it's been a real pleasure being with you. I'm going to just drop off the call in the next 5 minutes, and Paul will finish chatting to you. But tremendous pleasure. Final plug once again. Subscribe down below. Flick your details in there, your comments, and all of those things. As always, Paul, pleasure, buddy, to talk with you, and our special guest, Susan, all the way from the United States of America. God bless America, and God bless you. And thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Oh, that's incredible. So we're 9 years down the road. I'm on your professional LinkedIn network, and I got a notification to say it was going to be 9 years. And that's absolutely brilliant. I need to fucking.
Oh goodness, 3 things. Well, let's see. Get ready. The best is yet to come. I mean, I seriously consider my life excellent. I mean, even with a special needs child, I mean, I'm so blessed and so happy, and I couldn't think of my life any other way. I never imagined my life this way. Do I even know, what's going to happen 10 years from now? I don't have that figured out still, when my son is 20 years old. I can't picture that right now. So I guess, I don't know about 3 things. I mean, I'd say the main thing would be, just the way you picture your life. I mean, never did I think my life would be this way. But at the same time, which was really scary at first, but I wouldn't change anything, because my life was mapped out the way it should be. I mean, my son has brought so much joy and happiness to everybody around him. He doesn't talk. He can't tell you those things, but, he's a happy little guy, and he makes me a better person. So I would say the biggest, one of the biggest things is just take one day at a time. You know, I couldn't picture myself at that time 5 years from then. I couldn't picture myself at Ian at age 10. I definitely can't picture him as an adult. That's really scary for me. And we haven't even hit teenage years. I mean, let's just talk about that. But, you know, and shaving him, you know, just the little things that I think about. How am I going to shave him? He moves all the time. You know, how am I going to lift him and put him in a bathtub? I can hardly lift him and take him places now. You know, to go to the store, to go shopping, it's hard to lift him and do too much, you know, because I don't have that kind of a van to lift the wheelchair in and out, you know, all this. But we've made it work. I used to take Ian to school all the time. Well, it worked out. I have a little girl with Down syndrome that I watch in my daycare, and the bus has to come here anyway for her, the special bus. So I'm like, well, might as well pick up Ian. So I let go of my mommy, you know, strings and let him ride the bus. Well, I hear stories all the time about how much fun it is for him going up and down the hills. It's those little things that you don't know how you're going to do it or how you're going to make it, but you do. So that's my biggest thing that I guess I could tell people is don't fret about it. Just live one day at a time. It'll work out. So.
I suppose that in many ways and in many instances we have to change our own expectations from the pre-diagnosis phase where maybe we might have hopes and aspirations of what our children would hopefully become, whether that's actors, actresses, or in Sebastian's case football player or a hockey player in my own image, and then you get the diagnosis, and then you've got the professionals and people telling you, well, he's not going to be able to walk, he's not going to be able to talk, he's not going to be able to feed himself. And then actually, as you go along this journey, and you begin to understand actually that there are things that he will be able to do. It kind of, you have to go along and learn, and actually there are capabilities, and there are things that your individuals can do. I mean, for Sebastian now, he's not walking by the greatest sense of the word walking, but he's taking steps, he's taking strides. So again, that's another reset of the expectations, is to say, people tell you what they can and can't do, but actually, as you go through this journey, you understand what the skills and abilities are. Has that been the same with yourself and with Ian as well?
Well, yes. That's the thing. That's the difference between my daughters, who are older than him, are 14 and 17 now. And, you take for granted those milestones and those things that they can do a lot of times. I tell you what's kind of hurtful for me sometimes is seeing a mother pregnant, and then seeing a couple, a year down the road after the baby's born, walking. You're thinking, wow, my son's 10 years old and still can't, or still hasn't independently walked. But, and I still feed him. I still, diaper him. There's a lot of things that I may do, and I can't. And another thing is, you can't compare yourself to another angel parent, you can't compare your angel to another angel. I do that a lot, or I have. So many of them just carry around their iPad walking around, and they just, they can pick up what they want to eat. They can tell their mom something in a certain way. Ian doesn't. He can kind of, in his own little way, kind of, make a sound, and he wants a drink. But that's, there's not too much more other than that. Now, I can say, there's so many different ways to look at things. I could sit here and be all depressed, which I do. I have a couple times a year that I just bawl. And I tell people, this is my time of year that I just let it out. I let it, it bothers me, and you're going to have those moments, but allow yourself to have those moments. But I can say one thing that Ian does, and I have to brag on him, anytime he's dry, like he may wake up dry and hasn't pottied or, went to the bathroom or anything. So I'll take him, set him on the potty right away. He knows exactly what to do when he sits on the potty. Right away. He potty, he pees. Let's just be frank. But, those things that I know if he's dry and I take him right in there to the potty, he goes right away. Where people are like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, no, he does do that. He doesn't let me know. He doesn't let me know that at all. but I know that he understands that, and that is maybe little to some people, but that is huge, for Ian. And so when you realize, it simplifies your life so much when you have an angel, because it's the littlest things that they do that you're just thinking, are you kidding me? He just did this, and it's the smallest things, but it makes you appreciate those things. I mean, and so I know that there's so much more to look forward to, that I know that Ian's going to, pick up these skills and do these things. I still hand feed him. I still diaper him. I still bathe, I bathe him. I still have to pick him up, move him everywhere we go. I recently just bought an expensive couch just for Ian so he could recline, because he can't sit in a regular couch and kick, and he falls off, he could fall off. So he was in a recliner by himself. Well, we get a sectional that has 2 or 3 recliners, and we can sit next to him. So it's those little simple things that you have to do to adjust. Of course, I like a leather couch. It's kind of nice, but we get to sit by him. And it's just those things that you just have to figure out. And people are like, sure. I'm like, no, honestly, I could have kept the couch I had. I got that for Ian. So, I mean, it's just those little things you've got to do for their happiness. I mean, I'm in the baby section constantly looking at rolling toys, because that's what Ian does. Is it disheartening? Is it hard? Yes. He's 10 years old and I'm still in the same section. So at Christmas time, it just like, you run out of things to try to get, so you just get creative. So that's, I don't know if that answered your question, but I just, those are just some of the things that as AS parents, I think, we just celebrate the smallest things with our children. I do, because they're far and few between. However, my son is very healthy. I'm very happy about that. So there's a give and take, I think, with everything. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. So
I just want to ask when, I have mortality issues in terms of my own mortality and the mortality of Victoria. In terms of what's going to happen to Sebastian when we're gone. Is Harrison going to look after Sebastian? Is, part of our support network, our family and friends, going to wrap themselves around Sebastian as well as Harrison? All those kinds of things. And they're the things that upset me the most. I don't think anybody really does want to, cast their mind forward to that point of view. It's not a happy way of thinking, but unfortunately, it's just the way that it is. Especially when you're the parent of a disabled child. So I just really wanted to, ask, what do you, what happens with the family? Have you made any plans, or what are your thoughts and feelings on that topic? Is it?
Thoughts are, of course, this is probably the hardest subject for any AS parent or any parent out there, period, that has a special needs child, is what's going to happen when we're gone. Or even before that, I think about, let's just say, like right now, I feel sometimes because Ian he's not mobile, and I feel like he's bored sometimes, on the couch. And I loved it when he went to school. Because I know that it's all one-on-one. They're doing all different things. They know exactly, and he's getting his therapy. He's doing all this. He's happy. He loves it. They're feeding him all the time. He for sure loves that. But and I wish school went year-round, even in the summer, so that he could have that time, that one-on-one. So my thinking of the future is, I don't know if it'll be me, his dad, and I'm talking even before, we're gone. Me and his dad aren't together, so he goes and sees his dad. Well, it's a possibility. May he stay with his dad some? I'm not sure. How are we going to split all this up? But my main concern, I would definitely say, without a doubt, my main concern is Ian's happiness. It's not my happiness. Okay? That's what people need to really think about. And don't let people on the outside judge what you're doing for your own child's happiness. Not for yours. It's not about you. It's not about us as parents. It's about our children. And I remember seeing a couple of awesome angel parents go through the struggles with their children that are older. I don't know if I should say their name or not, but because it's out there in the community, but struggling putting their children in a residential home, basically, and people judging them about that. I mean, it was just it was hard for me to even understand where anybody could do that. Judging somebody, basically, is what I'm saying, because it's about our children's happiness. Okay, I felt so bad for those parents because I know they were in anguish doing it anyway, but they see them all the time. You know, they go up there on weekly visits and see their children all the time, and maybe even nightly. I don't know. There's probably all different ways that can be done. But the thing about it is that's what's really hard. You know, when you're trying to do what's best for your children and you're feeling guilty about it yourself, you know, but you want what's best for them, and you want their happiness. Okay, that's the goal as parents to me. It's not about me. So my thing would be probably, and I hate even thinking about this because I'm sure I'll keep him with me for as long as I can, as long as I feel he's happy. Okay, and definitely he'd be right there and I'd be right up in that place. So, you know, they would be doing everything right and I'd be seeing him all the time. But the thing about it is I don't know when that's going to be. I have no idea, and I'm not going to put my thinking to over there right now because it's too much for me. So when it comes time that I feel like that's something, if that's something, you know, his sisters may take you know, may keep him or whatever. I don't know, but it's all about what I feel like at the time is Ian's happiness and his well-being and who can take care of him the best. Therefore, I do know that I would want that situation planted way before anything happened to me. Does that make sense? Like, I would want to make sure that everything was in place before that time, if at all possible. Does that make sense?
No,
So,
it makes perfect sense. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. You know, I agree to that, living in the here and now. I think it is very, very important, you know, and maybe for parents out there, you know, to consider, you know, what planning is to be going into place. You know, it's one of the emotive things that certainly, you know, is, you know, I'm comfortable in saying is one of the things that preys on my mind, and I'm sure on all AS parents' minds. So, you know, thank you for sharing your opinions on that. So as I wrap this up, Susan, you know, I know Darren has left now. He's left the interview. But, you know, on behalf of Darren and myself, I just really want to thank you for taking part in this interview and sharing your journey with everybody who's watching this video. You know, it's been, you know, a real pleasure in your taking part in this and allowing us to share your journey. So I just really want to thank you for that. Have you enjoyed taking part in this?
very much so, and I hope I didn't repeat myself too much, but yeah, I hope that people, I hope it helps. You know, I really hope it helps somebody out there that may have the same concerns that we both do, and probably most parents do, and they may all have different opinions, and it may not be the same as mine or yours or whatever. But that's the thing about it. I mean, this is nothing that you can plan exactly. Like, you can plan your child to go through high school, go through college. You could, you know, but with this, it's kind of a one day at a time type of thing. It's some things are just too much to plan ahead, and that's one thing, you know. So as far as, you know.
So on the subject of hope, there's been an announcement, you know, recently, you know, quite recent history, you know, of a partnership, you know, with Fast and Agilis, you know, pharmaceuticals. And I was just wondering if you had any thoughts or feelings in terms of that partnership at all.
I really haven't read into a lot of it, actually, but I did notice the partnership between the foundation and Fast, and that is incredible. Right there has been that there. I mean, not to post much negative, but there has been, seemed to be, and I don't think it's necessarily the foundation, the different organizations. I think it's just the people. I think either, they were totally in support of FAST or they were totally in support of the foundation. And so you have, everybody's different. Everybody thinks differently. So you kind of have that little bit of a nudge on both sides, whether they agree with this or that, or which organization did they support more than this one, and it's the thing about it is it's all about our children and finding, if you want to call it a cure or, whatever, any kind of help for our children, right? And I've seen that and I love it. I love the fact that they're partnering together. But as far as the details, I'm not quite certain about all that yet, so I haven't got to read into it too much.
Has at times been a bit divisive, but I think now, as we've come to, understand more about what's going on in terms of, the research that's taken place, I think that, and in my own opinion, is that the community's become much more cohesive. We don't all have to stand, side by side holding hands, but I think the way the community is now, we are all facing the same direction and, are looking for what's going to be coming down the road in terms of, the cure and for the therapeutics. Absolutely brilliant. I'm going to be wrapping up now. Thank you very much for joining us on ALifeReal. Do you have any last words at all?
Well, the only other thing I can say is just real quick, I don't know if we touched on one more group that's out there that people may not know about, which is on Facebook, and it's the Angelman Directory. So I put that together, and that's just a place where you can find your flag of your country or your license tag, in the United States, and you can go and it can be a little bit more personable, and you can find people in your community, in your area. So I just wanted to say that group is out there.
So thanks again, Susan, for joining us on ALifeReal and sharing your journey and allowing others to take part in that journey as well. It really has been an honour to have you on the show. So thank you very much for that. To everybody at home, thank you for watching. Thank you for getting this far through the video. If you like what you see and you want to hear more, as soon as we publish that content, then please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and as soon as stuff goes out, you'll get the notification straight away. We have some great guests lined up coming over the next couple of weeks and months. We want to share those journeys with you. If you want to take part in ALifeReal and share your journey, then please get in touch with Darren Humphries and myself, and we'll be more than happy to have you on the show. So for me, that's been ALifeReal. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Darren. Thank you, everybody. And until next time, wishing you all the best.
Ain't nothing better than watching you smile. Whoa, 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 whoa. Ain't nothing better than watching you laugh out loud, my baby. Ain't nothing better than watching you be you. Ain't nothing better than right now. In your eyes lie the secrets I don't wanna miss. Put your hand in my hand and make a fist. Grab my shirt, curl your lip as if you know. Staring back in my eyes saying please don't go. I don't know what I know, what I know, what I know what it is that you really, really want or you need. I hate every moment away from you. I see you sleeping in my dreams. I know you're in your mother's arms. I know that you're safe from harm. You know I'm coming home real soon, and I'm bringing all my love for you. Ain't nothing better than watching you smile. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ain't nothing better than watching you laugh out loud, my baby. Ain't nothing better than watching you be you. Ain't nothing better than right now. In the can't take away the pain if I don't know you're hurting again. I can't leave you on your own if I know you're crying all alone. And my heart's pumping black and blues. That's how I feel when I'm not with you. A million years pass every day, losing the time, I'm always on my way. I don't know what I know, what I know, what I know what to do. I hope you understand when I'm gone, I'll always come back home for you. Open your eyes to a brand new dawn. Ain't nothing better than watching you smile. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ain't nothing better than watching you laugh out loud, my baby. Ain't nothing better than watching you be you. Ain't nothing better than right now. Let us have this moment of truth. Let us have this moment, our youth. Let us have this moment of truth. Let us have this moment, our youth. 'Cause all my time goes so fast. I hope my life slows so this can last. All my time goes so fast. I hope my life slows so this can last. Ain't nothing better than watching you smile. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ain't nothing better than watching you